Hi beautiful! Today's makeup look has been highly requested. You girls wanted to see a makeup tutorial for beginners, so your wish is my command, and here we are today. Let's get started. One quick plug. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Make sure to tap that little bell icon so you don't miss out on any amazingness that we have going on here. And follow me on Instagram. Yeah, lots of content over there too. Okay, yeah, now we can begin. You're going to start, of course, with a clean face, and then you're going to apply a light moisturizer. If you know you have oily skin, don't skip moisturizer entirely. Instead, go for a gel-based formula that your skin is basically going to absorb really quickly. Next up is to use a primer that addresses your specific skin concerns. You are seriously not going to get the full mileage out of your makeup if you're not using primer. If you're facing redness issues, then use a green primer. If your skin is dull, use purple. If your skin is oily, use a mattifying one. If your pores look too big, there's a primer for that as well. In essence, there's a primer for every skin concern out there. Next up is foundation. The key here is to find the right shade for your skin tone and a finish that is right for your skin type. If you'd like me to make an entire other video on how to learn to read your undertone and how to find the right shade of foundation, leave me a comment below and tell me that you'd like to see that, and I'll make sure to get it done for you. I like to focus the product at the center of the face and then work my way outward. Doing that basically will help ensure that your makeup doesn't look too cakey, and especially if you're a woman of a certain age like I am, it won't look like you're trying too hard. Make sure to bring this foundation down the neck and blend it. I see a lot of girls that just kind of stop right there and then you can see the color difference. So you can phase it out as you buff downward. Because this is a makeup routine for beginners, I try to go with mostly drugstore products, but there are a couple of things that I really wouldn't negotiate, like a beauty blender. It's really such a difference between a beauty blender and a dupe blender, and I just feel like even though yes it is more expensive, you can actually get a lot of mileage out of it, and you really don't want any streaks or anything like that, because particularly with dupes you really need to have a certain blending skill already in place in order for it to look perfect. So if you don't feel confident in your blending skills yet, do not go for a dupe. Trust me, the $20 I think it is, it's actually worth the purchase, and you will just feel so much better when your makeup looks amazing. Next step is the concealer. Basically, I apply this not only underneath the eyes, but also at the center of the forehead, because this is where you really want to draw attention to, and it will create like a multi-dimensional look. And then I'm just going in with the beauty blender again and making sure I buff it out, but I also bring a little bit of this leftover concealer that's on the sponge on top of the eyelid as well. Be sure to be very gentle as you tap around the eye area, because it is the most sensitive area on your face. The skin is the thinnest in this area as well, and it's the first place that shows signs of aging, so you do not want to pull and tug right here. Now I'm gently tapping on top of the eyelid. This will create some uniformity in color, but also it's like a pre-priming of the eyelid phase. Now we're going to dab the rest. Okay, moving on to contouring. I've always been of the firm belief that powder contour products, powder bronzers are going to be a little bit more easy to work with, but you know, I've been using this NYX Wonder Stick, which is in a cream formula, and I do find that it's extremely easy to position on the face, and I feel like if you are a beginner, this kind of stick will be easier than any type of other form, because it will give you more control over the application and where you want it to basically go. I'm going to apply it here, and I'm going to stop at the center of the pupil and build it up in color. I'm going to sponge this out, and then if I feel like I need a little bit more color, then I can always go back in. It's always best to start with little product and build up, as opposed to apply too much and then you start freaking out as to how to blend it. And make sure I bring it into the hairline. And I made an entire video on how to properly contour. It's really helpful, and I really recommend you watch that, and I'm going to link it in the description box below. In that video too, I gave you some tips on how to figure out where that line should be, by the way. I like to put a little bit underneath the bottom lip just right here at the center, not all around, because I already have pretty white lips, so if I bring it all the way around, they're gonna look more exaggerated and I don't want that. So I wanna focus at the center to give that more plumpness in the middle illusion. Now, if you're just starting out, I recommend doing one area at a time because you don't want the product to start seeping into the skin, drying out, and then it becomes more difficult to blend. Using the very tip, I'm going to start buffing right over the line. You can see this is a very discreet contour. I like that particularly during the day. If you want more drama, let's say it's a night look, you can always go back in. Now I'm building the color and I'm fine with that. I hope the camera is going to capture this properly, but I'm really fine with that. And now I'm just gonna move over the rest of the face. I try not to wipe because I don't want to move any of the foundation that I've applied earlier. So I just dab, 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 dab. So this is why I love this product, because you can truly build it up. And build it up nicely too. You really don't want to bring this contour line too close to the mouth because otherwise it's gonna look clownish. I mean, who doesn't want to look like a clown, you know what I mean? But let's just stick to not today. For the bottom lip, I'm going to use my finger, and again, I'm going to diffuse it a little bit outward, but I'm not going to bring this line all around my bottom lip. Next up, we're going to set. You want to apply a very thin layer of translucent powder over all the areas where you've applied concealer particularly. And that's your T-zone for the most part, which for many of us has a tendency to get oily throughout the day. Once you set it, you're going to make sure that not only your makeup is going to crease less, but you're not going to be so shiny as you would be otherwise without it. When it comes to translucent powders, the key is to make sure that you're using a powder that does not have silica. Silica is that one ingredient in translucent powder that will give you a flashback. And a flashback is, let's say you apply powder underneath your eyes and you set your T-zone, you go out and then you take a picture and then you look like you have white on those places. That's flashback. It's not cute, it's not a sexy look, so you don't want that. A lot of drugstore products on the market unfortunately have silica, so this would be the second product that I recommend you invest in. It is by far, in my opinion, the best loose translucent powder on the market. It is the Laura Mercier loose setting powder, translucent. So what I like to do is I like to apply it either with my beauty blender or with a brush, but normally I go in with a brush if I decide to bake as well and really create that lighter definition, really make the makeup look a little bit more heavy. But more than anything, when I bake underneath the eyes, I ensure that any fallout from the eyeshadow gets trapped in that translucent powder, and as I wipe it off, that fallout will be wiped with it, as opposed to try to remove it and then leave little smudges. So I'm going to set with this. I'm going to apply just a little bit more underneath the eyes for the same exact reason. If you don't want to do that, you're not comfortable with that, there are those little eye shields that you can buy from Amazon. You don't have to get the brand or most expensive ones. Just make sure that you don't really glue them to the eye, so when you peel them off, you're not gonna, remove any of your concealer and foundation with it. I'm going to use this brush, Sigma Tapered Kabuki F86. I'm going to dip it in this. You do not want to blow on the brush to remove excess product because our mouths are disgusting. We have a lot of bacteria and germs and nasty things in our mouths, and the last thing that you want is for those to transfer onto your brush, which you then wipe on your beautiful face. Just tragic. So I'm going to very lightly dab it over all the areas where I've applied the concealer. Just a little bit more, tapping it in, not wiping. Really, the only wiping movements you're going to do is on your eyelid. For the rest of your face, you should, generally speaking, tap product in. A little bit at the center of the forehead. Because this is a beginner's makeup look, I am not going to contour my nose. In that contouring and highlighting video that I did, I talk about how to contour the nose. For today, I'm just going to do my face and my bottom lip and keep it simple. Now I'm going to apply just a little bit more product underneath the eyes to capture any potential eyeshadow fallout. I like to go in a little bit on the nose too, because I've had it happen, have eyeshadow to kind of drop right there. Like, what are you doing? You're trying to run off? Moving on to brows, I typically like to do my brows after the foundation, but before the eyeshadow. After the foundation because, let's say, one of the rare times when I do a tremendous, stellar job with the eyebrow. If I do the brow and then I go in with foundation and by accident I tap a little bit of foundation over it, then I messed up my brow and that's tragic and I'll be really sad. But if I apply, sorry, it's itching right here. But if I apply it after the eyeshadow, if I do a mistake with the brow and then I need to kind of wipe it off, then I wipe shadow with it too. So then it's like, so that's pretty much like the flow that has been working for me. And I'm going to show you two types of brows. So if you're truly in the very beginning, what I would recommend you do is you get like a tinted eyebrow gel, something that will add fluffiness and fill in the brows a little bit, but not make you feel like, oh my god, my hand is shaking, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to show you the Q&Brow, which this is the third product that I'm going to say indulge in, splurge in, because there hasn't been a better eyebrow product that I have ever tried except Q&Brow. Not even dip brow. Dip brow, for some reason, for me, doesn't get into this little scar that I have right there. It's just, it's not as pigmented. Even the formula itself dries out very quickly, so I always have to put a little bit of like a drop of oil in it and mix it so I can get the pomade and put it on my brows. With this, I've had it forever and it has never dried out. It goes into my scar. It's very pigmented and it stays on even a little bit better than dip brow has stayed for me. So that's why I recommend you do kind of splurge on a good brow product. So on this brow, this way you can see the difference, I'm going to put the Benefit Gimme Brow. This is that tinted eyebrow gel that I mentioned, and on the right I'm going to do Q&Brow. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to start from the middle of the eyebrow because the most amount of product is going to be concentrated on this brush right now. And if you apply it up here, whew, if you do it at the end, oof. Realistically, the product should go from lighter to darker. So I'm going to apply it right here in the center of the brow. You can see it's starting to get a little bit darker. And I'm going to work my way toward the front. Drew a brain fart for a second there. I forgot. What is this called? And now really packing on that product that's on the brush at the outer edge. I try to go into the areas that would normally need to be filled in a little bit. And just following the natural hairline, the hair direction, I'm just giving it these little strokes. And there you go. Now I have a fuller brow on the left-hand side. Let's go in with the Q&Brow on the other. What's really cool about a pomade or a pencil is that you can actually draw hair in. So for example, see, this brow goes all the way out here as it should be, but this brow doesn't. So normally I like to create those hair strokes, and the best way that I found to achieve that is by using a little bit of pomade. So I dip very, very gently into this pomade, just enough to where I can see that there's some product on the brush, but it's not too much. And what I'm going to do, using a very light hand, I am going to create some natural hairs, some natural looking drawn in hairs that go in the same direction as the hairs right here. So I don't want to make them too much like this, or that's just my personal choice. You can do whatever you want, honey, because it is your face. But for me personally, I like to kind of follow and mimic the natural hair direction that I already have. So I'm going to start right here. Now my eyebrows are perfectly even at the center as far as distance is concerned. So there it is again. Moving on to the eyeshadow, if there is a little bit of creasing from the concealer, I'm going to buff it out, and then I'm going to go in with an eyelid primer. Now some people will do their eye first and then apply foundation. There's no rule to anything. You can do however you please and whatever works best for you. For me, I find that I'm a little bit more reserved with the foundation around the eye if my eyes are already done, because I have to be like, I don't want to mess up the shape. And that just doesn't make me feel good, so I typically don't do it like that. Just find your own flow. Now going in with the darker eyeshadow, I'm going to pack it at the outer corner, right on the eyelid. I'm going to start bringing it little by little toward the center. I'm going to wipe excess off, and then I'm going to start bringing it with windshield wiper-like movements right at the crease so it blends in nicely with the transition color. This is when you essentially start raising the color up a little right above the fold. And what I recommend you do in the beginning, because you can do like a cat eye shape, etc. But what I recommend if you're in the beginning stages is just to follow your natural eye line. Just get used to blending, and then you can get really bold and start doing different shapes. And I'm bringing this a little bit toward the inner corner so it blends in with that very light color that we've applied at the inner. There we go. Now it's time to continue doing the same thing, but just packing on a little bit more color so it becomes more vibrant. If you happen to apply a little bit too much of the darker color, all you have to do is go in with that transition color again, lightly over it. Make sure you don't have too much product on the brush. And just stroke on top of it. There you go. Now it's more diffused and it just looks better. And do you see these little poopies? Yeah, as we're going to wipe off the excess translucent powder, we'll get rid of them too without any smudging. Now I'm going to grab a fluffy brush, and with very staccato-like movements, I'm going to wipe off the translucent powder and any fallout with it. And after all the fallout is gone, then you can kind of buff the translucent powder further in. Just like that. If you do want an eyeliner to finish off the top lid, but you're in the beginning stages, I would recommend going in with a pencil as opposed to a liquid eyeliner, because this is easier to smudge if you have an accident, and that smudge look will look fine. It will look like a smoky eyeliner. But if you go in with a sharp liner and if you make a mistake, eek! So I would say while you're practicing, start practicing with a pencil. Now, of course, this is not going to hold off as good as a liquid product will, but we all have to start somewhere, my love. Tilt it up a little bit, look down, and start following your natural eyelash line as close to the eyelash as possible. Start at the center and work your way inward and outward. It's good to start as close to the lash line as possible. This way you get a perfect shape, and if you decide that, oh, I want it to be a little bit higher, then you have, you know, like a startup line to work with, as opposed to maybe applying it too high off the bat and then making a boo-boo. As you feel comfortable with the line and you like it, you can go in over it now and really build up the product and the color. As you get closer to the outer corner, you can either stop there, or you can start feeling a little bit more adventurous and essentially extend outward by following your natural eye line. So you see how my eye kind of goes like this? I'm going to continue it and raise it up a little bit. And I'm going to fill in that gap right here. And voila! Next, we're going to add some eyeshadow under the lower lash. And typically, again, there's no rule, but typically you will see girls that either do the lower lash in the same dark color, in the darkest shade that we've applied on the top of the lid, or what I personally like to do, the very medium color. So not the lightest, not the darkest, but the medium. I do find for my eyes anyway that it adds a little bit more symmetry and kind of brings the whole look together. I'm going to tilt my head forward. This way, if there is any fallout, it's kind of going to fall off my face as opposed to doing it like this and it lands on my cheeks. So I'm packing it on at the lash line, bringing it all the way to where the lash starts right here, and making sure to connect at the outer corner. And once product comes off, then I'm going to do these windshield wiper-like movements with downward strokes. So it's more feathered downward. If you feel like you do want a little bit more pop at the inner corner, you can grab the same inner corner color. You can pack it in right here, right at the inner. And then as product gets discarded or you tap some of it off, you can stroke it a little bit toward that bottom color. This way there's more of a seamless blend. Or should we call it transition? And there you go. Now it's going to be time for lashes. Now, you know, in the very beginning, you have to start one battle at a time. So I wouldn't recommend, you know, learning how to do the eyeliner, learning how to do the eyeshadow, learning how to blend, how to contour, how to do your eyebrows, and applying false lashes, unless you want to. But I know me personally, I would be very overwhelmed, and I was very overwhelmed at first, which is why I recommend to choose your battles. If you care about eyelashes, false eyelashes right now, then I'm going to link in the description box below a tutorial that is so rich in information and step-by-steps on how to not only properly apply the lashes, but apply them so well to where they will not lift from either of the corners. Watch that if you want like a full false eyelash tutorial. If not, I'm going to show you today how to properly curl them, because there is a little secret, and then we'll apply mascara. So to curl the eyelashes, first you're going to get an eyelash curler, of course, and what you're going to do is this: you're actually going to heat it up a little bit, because think about it this way: when you curl your hair, do you just put the cold wand in it and hold it and then let go and magically a curl happens? No, you have to apply a little bit of heat. So I do the same thing with the eyelash curler as well. I'm going to hold the blow dryer with the heat over the eyelash curler for about 2 seconds. I'm going to do 1/1000, 2/1000, nothing more than that, because you do not want to burn your eyelid. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to curl it, and I'm going to repeat the process twice, because my lashes do have a tendency to be a little bit more droopy. If yours are not, then one will do, and then you go in with the mascara. So let's do this. Making sure there's heat coming out. There we go. And now I'm going to hold it for 2 seconds. And there you go. I'm going to immediately go in and curl. There you go. I'm going to press them together, and I'm going to hold it like this for 5 seconds.
1/1000, 2/1000, 3/1000, 4/1000, 5/1000.
Let go. And you can either stop right there and do the other eye, or repeat. You want to make sure that the air that is coming out of the blow dryer is hot. There you go. And then I like to kind of tap, just kind of squeeze a few times, and then let go. Now, of course, like with any heat, it's never good to bring heat to your skin or to your hair too often. But you know what? If you do this a couple of times a week, you're only holding it up there for 5 seconds, so it's really not, it shouldn't be an issue. Moving into mascara, I'm going to apply the first coat. I'm going to give the first coat about 10 seconds while I do the other eye, and then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to go in with the second coat, and then I'm done. Always tilt your head back a little bit and look down. This way you don't get any mascara on your eyelid. If you do, don't panic. Let it dry. Do not try to remove it right away, otherwise it will smudge. Just let it fully dry, and then you can wipe off very easily with a Q-tip. I like to apply this at the base, wiggle it a little bit, and then make my way up. Also, if you don't want the product to dry out really quick, try not to do this, because you're only pumping more oxygen into the tube. So rather, circle it up like this and then take it out. And try not to look up immediately, because you don't want the tips of the lashes that have fresh mascara on to kind of leave marks. Now, when it comes to the lower lashes, what I like to do is that I never look forward. I always tilt my head downward, and I kind of look up a little bit. This way I don't get any mascara poopies on my skin. But also another trick is to get a frozen spoon or a teaspoon that you kept in the freezer for a couple of minutes and use it right underneath the lashes. Not only is that going to help mascara poopies not get onto your skin, but that cooling sensation feels magical. Moving on to blush and highlighter. I'm going to go in with the blush. I like to apply it not right on the apples of the cheeks, because I feel like sometimes I can look a little childish and like too flushed. So I go right above the apple of the cheek and then kind of bring it up like this. And to me, that is actually a more natural look, and that fortunately makes it easier to blend as well. So I'm going to put just a little bit, because I'm going to build the product up, on this beauty blender, and I'm going to dab it where I want it. And then I'm going to blend it in. Moving on to highlight, I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to apply it right here at the cheekbone, buff it with the beauty blender, and build it up. A little more. I'm also making sure that the edges are blended outward as well, so there's no significant visible streak, if that makes sense. First I tap right over it. I start moving inward and outward. And then I bring it toward the temple, toward the tip of the brow. Just making sure that it's feathered out nicely. If you want your nose to look more straight, you can always apply a line, a straight line down. If you want the nose to look a little bit shorter, then you don't want to bring that highlighter all the way down here, if that makes sense. Not all the way to the tip of the nose. You want to keep it a little bit shorter. This way the attention is more up here as opposed to the entirety of the nose. And then just a little bit at the Cupid's bow for that healthy glow. And if you don't want any lipstick to get on your teeth, grab your finger and do this. Now any excess that would have landed on your teeth is on your finger. For the last step, I like to use a makeup setting spray because I don't want my makeup to shift throughout the day and I just want to look impossibly fresh looking for as long as possible. The reason I cover my eyes is because I don't want to get anything moist over the lashes, so the mascara loosens up and then it gives me poopies underneath. So this is the final look, my beautiful friend. I really hope you enjoyed this. Normally I say I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed filming for you, but honestly, with the craziness going on today, it's taken me over 2 hours to film this, so I think I'm going to enjoy seeing your reactions more. Thank you again for being here. I love you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram for about 5 videos a week actually is how much I post there, between makeup tutorials, skincare videos, and DIY recipes. I hope you enjoy seeing those as well. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you again very soon in a new video. Bye!